Before the 1800s, the Cherokee Nation was one of the most developed native societies in North America. They lived in what is now Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Alabama, in well-built towns with log houses, farms, and schools. They had a written language created by a man named Sequoyah, a newspaper printed in both Cherokee and English, and a government modeled after the United States Constitution. The Cherokee believed that by adopting certain parts of European American culture, they could protect their land and their way of life. But settlers and politicians had another plan, because Cherokee land was rich in forests, rivers, and gold. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act. The government claimed this was to protect Native Americans by moving them west of the Mississippi River. But the truth? They wanted the land for farming and for themselves. The Cherokee resisted. They fought in court, and in 1832, they won. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Cherokee Nation was sovereign and could not be removed by force, but that ruling was ignored. And in 1838, the soldiers came. Families were driven from their homes. Many were given minutes, sometimes only seconds, to pack. They were herded into makeshift prison camps, crowded and unsanitary. From there, the Cherokee were split into groups and forced to walk to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma, over 1,000 miles, with little food, no warm clothing, and no shelter from the cold. The march west. Winter came early that year. Snow and freezing winds swept the roads. The elderly struggled to keep up. Parents carried small children until their arms gave out. Disease, smallpox, measles, pneumonia spread through the camps and along the trail. Some collapsed from hunger and illness, never to rise again. A survivor would later say, "We are now made to drink the bitter cup of life, and we are forced to taste its dregs." By the end, around 4,000 Cherokee, nearly one out of every four, had died. The people called the journey Nuna Dal Suni, the trail where they cried. And the Cherokee were not alone. The Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole were also forced to leave their homelands in similar removals. Tens of thousands suffered the same fate. When the survivors finally reached Indian Territory, they found a strange and unfamiliar land. The soil was different. The seasons were harsh. They had to start over, from nothing. But they did. They built homes, planted crops, reopened schools, and kept their language alive. They taught their children the old stories, so that the Trail of Tears would never be forgotten. The Trail of Tears is a story of injustice, but also of survival. It reminds us that history is not just dates and names. It is the lives of real people.